How embarrassing. How embarrassing. How embarrassing. Now, I apologize for making this review a bit late. I've kind of been busy. Plus, it's a good thing because now the episode is really sunk in and I've really developed my opinion on it. And it's not good. I was really hoping, I was really hoping that this would be good because the first two episodes of this season I thought were pretty strong. They weren't nothing spectacular, but they were pretty good setup, and it really made me care for these characters, and it made me invested in this story even more than I was before. So I was really hoping that they would pull something interesting out of their hat and that they would really give us a good episode, and unfortunately that's not what we got. Now let me first get out of the way. This episode is directed amazing. Miguel Sapochnik, I really congratulate him on making one of the best looking one of the best action scenes generally in this show and in television. It was so great, directing wise, writing wise. There were a lot of dumb moves, really dumb strategic moves that don't make any sense, but directing wise it looked amazing. This entire episode looked fucking amazing, and it was beautifully shot and beautifully directed, and I have nothing but good things to say about that. However, the action is not really what drew me in Game of Thrones. I don't really care that much about action when it comes to Game of Thrones. To me, Game of Thrones has always been about the writing, and this show suffers immensely in the writing department. Had I made this video a few days back, when the episode released, I would probably say that this episode is at least not as bad as Eastwatch by the Sea. I think that's the name of that episode. But the episode 6 of season 7, which still is technically the worst episode of the show, but in my opinion, this episode fucks it up even more, because in general, when you look at that episode, all that episode is about is basically just giving Night King the means to get through the wall, which, I mean, once again, they do it in a very dumb way, but it's much smaller in scale than this episode. This episode needed to be great. If they had made this episode great, it would have made up for the mistakes of that, generally the previous season, entirely, and all the flaws that I had with this Night King storyline would have been resolved. But instead we got this shit. I'm so saddened and disappointed. This episode fucking broke me. It literally fucking broke me. I will no longer be able to fucking get excited for anything ever again. I'm gonna get into spoilers now because I assume that a lot of people have already seen it. So, yeah, Night King fucking dies. And I actually predicted that. I was like, what is the worst fucking way that they could, go with this story? And that is if they, kill Night King, halfway through the season and then focus on Cersei. Which, here's the thing, I'm much more interested in Cersei than in Night King. I was never really that interested in Night King. But I was expecting more from Game of Thrones. Basically now, I can't even recommend this show to anyone anymore. Because it's so, okay, yeah, the first 4 seasons are fucking amazing. But, I can't tell someone to watch the first 4 seasons and then to leave the show and then, no longer watch it. Seasons 5 and 6 are still pretty good. But, season 7 and season 8, at least season 8 thus far, have been just fucking horrible. And even if the rest of the season is fucking great, it's still gonna be a problem because now, if I ever recommend this show to anyone, I'm basically gonna have to tell them, it's a great show, but don't get invested in the Night King and the White Walker storyline because it's gonna lead to nowhere. Because this, it literally fucking led to nowhere. They could have ended the Night King storyline here, but they could have done it in so many different and more interesting ways. Let's say if Night King, at the end we make the entire episode the same, and then at the end Night King like comes up to Bran and he like starts communicating with him like through the power of the three-eyed raven, because it has been established earlier that they do have some sort of connection, when he fucking like looked at the crows and shit, like, and and he fucking saw him in his vision. Like, we know that there's some sort of connection between the two. Like, why not make them actually communicate and have Night King tell them, yo, listen here, like, I have a deal, for you. Like, I basically need, human sacrifices in order for my, species to survive. I will leave you alone. You will be able to live, your happy lives as long as, like, I get a certain quota of, babies every fucking year in order for, my species to survive. Like, that would have given a very dark ending. Like, all the characters would still be alive, but like at a great cost, because now like humanity is gonna have to send like their babies like basically all the time to Night King in order for to survive, because Night King threatens to kill them all, because Night King proved that he can kill them all. Like, that would have been much more satisfying of a conclusion than like what we got, was just Arya killed him. Or let's say if you wanted to have him killed, why have that be Arya? Like, the reason that I'm against it is because there is nothing in Arya's storyline that like suggests that she's the one that's supposed to kill the Night King. Like that's Jon's and Bran's really storyline. Like, Jon really, his entire story revolves around the White Walker and stopping that threat. Bran as well. Like, so like if you wanted to kill him, have one of those to kill him. And by that I don't mean have Bran like jump from his wheelchair and fucking stab Night King, but like, when Night King fucking kills Theon Greyjoy, like right before Theon dies, they could have had, maybe Bran wargs into him and then like fucking he kills him, like, which would make, that Bran's kill, which would be much more satisfying. Or maybe just have Jon Snow fight him and kill him. Like, it would have been very cliche and very predictable, and, it would still be pretty bad because, it would be predictable, but at least, like, it would make some sort of sense. As for some of the flaws early on in the episode, like, yeah, I agree that there's a lot of dumb shit. Like, yeah, the Thraki charging at the beginning doesn't make any strategic sense and whatever, but that's already been, done to death. Like, there's a million fucking, YouTubers who have like already like expressed that. And the reason that this video is titled Game of Thrones The Last Jedi is because this episode really did remind me a lot of The Last Jedi. Specifically the, Snoke part. However, like, if you've seen some of my earlier videos, you know that I've kind of defended The Last Jedi. And here's the reason why. Like, I think that this is way, way, way worse than The Last Jedi. See, well, The Last Jedi is pretty dumb, and them killing off Snoke is a waste of potential. Still, Snoke never really, at least for me, never really intrigued me. Like, I was never interested in who this character is. He was just kind of like there as a big bad. So when he died, I was more just shocked and surprised and interested than I was really disappointed, because I didn't have any high expectations. But for this, like, this was built up for fucking 8 seasons. Like, from the first fucking scene of the first episode, it's been nothing but White Walkers, Like, this entire show felt like, even Jon Snow said it multiple times, that these, like, wars between, like, these, different kingdoms and whatever is meaningless, because the real war is, coming from the north. We've been hearing for that. We've been hearing that for like the past 8 seasons, and like, this is all that it is. It's nothing. Like, he just died. The writers are under the impression that giving us an epic battle is equivalent to a satisfying conclusion, which it is not. Like, for instance, the last Lord of the Rings movie isn't a satisfying conclusion to the trilogy because it has big battles, which it does have, but it also concludes thematically everything that was set up in the first 2 films, or first 2 books. Same goes for like Avengers Endgame. Even that movie, like, thematically, like, wraps up everything that was set up in the previous, like, Infinity War and some of the earlier shit from the other MCU movies. Like, and it just baffles me, the fact that, like, Avengers Endgame, a multi-million-dollar movie made by Disney, is better and like it concludes this a story better than Game of Thrones. Like that shit is just baffling. And like I'm not here like to jump on the hate bandwagon and to be like, you know, fuck this episode, blah blah blah. Like, you know, I'm really like heartbroken. Like I really wanted this episode. I really wanted this show to be great. I was really like, I was one of the few of my friends who actually hoped for this. Like I have like a friend of mine was just keeps saying like, don't get your hopes up, it's gonna be bad. And, like a brother said, don't get your hopes up, it's gonna be bad. But no, I was like, I believe in them. I believe that they're gonna do something great, and I believe that they're gonna do something spectacular. And they just disappointed me, and I'm fucking like I'm legit like fucking heartbroken over this, and like I'm just so disappointed, and I have no more I have no hopes for this show in the future. Like, you know, I'm still gonna watch, you know, the next 3 episodes because, you know, it'll be dumb if I don't. But like, especially now because like with Cersei, like, you know, we're gonna really, you know, after we now wrapped up the whole Night Kings, so now we're kind of going back to the Game of Thrones, which, you know, I like, but now the writing is really gonna have to be good in order to make this, you know, as good as it was, you know, in the previous seasons, which I really don't believe these writers can do. Like, I have no faith in them. Like, they're just, I feel like they're legit fucking retards who don't know anything about writing, who the only reason that this show was good was because of George R.R. Martin and his books. And now that he is gone, they just don't know what to do. And I just don't understand. Like, I just imagine, okay, like, I've had some pretty bad fucking ideas, but like, after that I go to sleep, I sleep on those ideas, and I wake up and I'm like, holy shit, that was dumb. Like, how could have they actually like thought of this and then like stuck with it, spent millions to film this, and not throughout this entire process, at one single point nobody's was like, yo, this is fucking dumb. Like, I just don't understand how that went like that. How nobody fucking stopped these fucking lunatics in their attempt to destroy this fucking show. And before I end this video, I want to leave you off with one last thought. These are the people that this episode appeals to. These are the people that this show now appeals to. I want to fucking kill myself.